Go ahead and call the meeting of the Utilities Committee to order. If we would, we'll have the invocation and pledge. We'll do the roll call first. Back up a step. Madam Secretary, Councilman Cagnolati is out of town, and Councilman Travis Turner is not here. We'll do the invocation and pledge to be led by Mr. Ken Dawson tonight. Please stand.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for all the blessings you bestowed upon us, the opportunity to serve the people of Ascension. We ask for your wisdom and guidance to do the people business well. We also ask that you bless the Depew family, our utility director who lost his mother. We ask that you comfort them during their bereavement. As we move forward today, we thank you that you will guide our thoughts and actions that will allow the people of Ascension Parish to be proud of the efforts that we expend tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate that. Chairs, we don't have any chairs additions tonight. Public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on any agenda item can step up to the secretary, sign a card. They'll be given 3 minutes when that item comes up on the agenda. Moving to number 5, approval to enter into a contract with the Army Corps of Engineers for a river wastewater discharge line. Mr. Ken Dawson.
We're going to have Mr. Go up there. We're going to have our utility chair, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Bill Depew, come on up, Bill.
Yeah, this project's been working quite a while, and it's ready to go. We need the permission to proceed and get Parish President authorization. If you have any questions, we have Mr. Duran Ilzy with us today that can answer any of your questions.
Yeah, just for a brief explanation, Duran, thanks for coming. We appreciate that. The Corps, we've been working with the Corps for a while now to try to tie the Hillaryville-Darrow system, current treatment system we have to the river, for the waste discharge line, which will be the first one in the parish. It's something that everybody's aware DEQ's been wanting us to do for a long period of time. This gives us that first step in that direction, and hopefully we'll be able to expand that system as we go through the sewer. So this is basically the Corps is going to go out for bids on this project to get it done.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think that's the absolute plan. That the good thing about it is that it's a project that's just completely being handled by the Corps, and if you know, dealing with navigating the issues around the levee, having the Corps as the entity that's assisting with that kind of helps us speed the project up. This is something that's done with the 219 program, which this parish has been involved with for several years, that allowed us to move forward. The good thing about this, the actual design was done a year or so ago, Michelle. You can get up to the podium. A year or so ago to actually do the discharge. And then when funds became available for not only design but construction, because the design was completed, we were able to move right into construction. So this is a good situation for the parish, as well as when you look at the overall goal of Ascension, to be able to establish a regional treatment plant that handles a large volume of wastewater flow, which discharge to the river. This allows that to be accomplished.
And now that we've established this, we're already working on the next effort. So
that's correct. And so the agreement will allow us to proceed to construction and allow us to go out for solicitation of bids.
Fantastic. Mr. Joseph, you had some questions?
How long this probably would take, I'm sorry, how long this would take, if you don't mind asking, a year away, 2 years away? Or?
In terms of actually getting out to bid?
No, completion.
Completing the project, we should award the project in September. The construction duration is right around 200 days. And that's allowing for weather days. So.
Okay, in the river?
Yes, sir, in the river. That's the
so about this time next year?
If the river's correct.
All right, well, that's a whole lot quicker than I thought it was going to be. Good.
Any other questions? All right.
Make a motion to approve?
Have a motion from Mr. Joseph, and I will have one caveat. In order to expedite this, we we'll try to, we need to get a hold of Chairman Kluwat, and we'll need to probably add this to the agenda for Thursday night to try to make this happen. So just as a, if anybody's got any questions about that because of the time frame of this happening. But we got a motion to approve.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Got a second by Mr. Satterley. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none. Any opposition? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you, Duran, for coming up. We appreciate it.
No problem, thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 6. We got approval to enter into a contract with Highway 73 Sewer Treatment Plant. Mr. Dawson.
Yes, I think that this committee is aware of the project on Highway 73, the fact that we had to install sewer in order to get the road project completed. We had to be able to take care of the treatment of that sewer, which now we have a contract with a adjacent wastewater treatment provider that will allow us to put that discharge into that particular system and handle the waste there. Another thing that we did, because of the goal was to keep customers within the parish and not allow them to be assumed by other wastewater providers, is that we also entered into agreement to collect enough volume in the system to serve about 197 homes that would be our customer. Of course, you guys know the history of this whole thing when we were going through the process of having the P3 area done and what was it, P16? 16?
P16.
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 So many, okay.
P16.
Having all of that done, collecting to it, and we thought that we would probably be well underway with connecting to that system with a discharge to the river with a plant somewhere on 73. Of course, have different directions now, so we didn't want to give long-term agreements. We wanted to be able to keep our customers and be able to go into another system as soon as we could. So this allows us to satisfy, in essence, the need for the road project and providing sewer in that area.
And we're talking the area basically between I-10 and Airline Highway on 73.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any discussions? Any questions?
No.
We have a motion.
Motion to accept.
We have a motion to approve, allow the contract. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none, that motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 7, approval for technical systems for waste development on Highway 22. Mr. Dawson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is a project that we've talked about some time, and this is dealing with the Highway 22. If I could get the, let's see if I can orient this in the right way. Maybe it's this way.
There you go.
Can y'all see it? Okay. Okay, this is what we're attempting to do. If you...
Can you zoom that out a little bit, Ken? It's kind of...
Can I zoom it out? I'll probably break it if I try. John, can I zoom it out? I could just... Okay. I just don't know how. My cousin didn't help me here, so... He's a technical guy in the family.
No, that's as wide as it goes.
As long as
As wide as it goes. All right.
I'll just try to move it, to slide it around here a little bit. Okay, if you look at, you see this area, I'm gonna slide it down this way. This describes the actual location of the CDBG grant that we have $5.2 million to handle treatment in the Dower area, Highway, Highway 22, Hillaryville, Astorland, in this area. The plant that we will be kind of attaching to is located here. Again, that was a $5.2 million project. The goal and what we're asking today is that that project kind of expands a little bit, and it expanded for several reasons. I will bring this particular chart up now, which will show why we're asking for additional technical assistance. I know it's not very clear, but hopefully the red lines will show you what we're trying to do. This is the Hillaryville treatment plant. The Darrow things and Astral Land or a little bit further south on the drawing. This line is a proposed line that we're asking to get technical assistance to do a design to connect to this big Riverton area, which is initially, I think it may be 100 and something homes on the first filing, but the goal is maybe up to 1,200 homes that will be located there. there's an additional 600 or so homes that may be in another project looking at Pelican Point. We're looking at another project that I think a minister out there is looking at developing some acreage. So what this does, this allows this particular regional waste treatment area to be something that's very viable. Several things that we're asking tonight. First of all, we are asking that we revise the contract for Evan Graves. That was the engineering firm that initially did the design for the CDBG grant, to extend that contract to allow them to do some more work on the actual lift station that would carry the waste to the treatment plant, and also work on the design that will go further down 22 under the railroad. I guess you all know that dealing with a railroad and boring under it for any type of piping is going to be an endeavor. We've already spoken with members of our state delegation that's willing to assist us in contacting the railroad to talk about it, but nevertheless, we got to get going now to make that happen, okay? The second thing that we're asking for technical assistance and for approval to move forward with technical assistance is to get money to allow us to submit the EID and the necessary documents that will get us SRF funding. Mr. Johnson and I met with the Secretary of DEQ. The $66 million that we all had an effort, 60, I'm sorry. Yeah, what's a give or take, $6 million, we can talk about 60, right? Okay,
Right.
But the $60 million that we got preliminary approval for from DEQ, we are at some kind of jeopardy that unless we utilize this money quickly, that we could stand to lose it. I mean, they spoke to us in no uncertain terms. And the reason why is it reduces the federal funding that they can bring down if there's dollars that they're allocated that have not been utilized. The goal is to go ahead and start phase 1 of our overall sewer project for Ascension Parish here, pull down some of those dollars so that we can go ahead and get the project started. And we need to have engineering assistance to prepare our EID and documents that we'll submit for that. The third aspect of what we're trying to do here is to get assistance in designing the actual plant itself. I think everybody here has traveled to a site and saw a kind of treatment system that we all were pleased with, several trips, one to one that was a very new system, one to an old system, and we want to start the process of getting that looked at. Our plan is not to exceed $50,000 in any of the engineering services. I'm not to say that as we move forward, it may take us going out for an RFQ later, but it gets the process started so that we can actually determine what's going to be required to get it accomplished. I can say this, that we did do a modification to our environmental documents for the SRF funding when we were doing some other things on the P16 area. It didn't cost $50,000 to modify the documents. I'm just not sure about this one, even though some of the areas were included in the overall core plan, but I'm not sure of how much detail that they have to go forward. So we'll come back to you, as we determine. One other thing that's important, and I think that this committee needs to understand, technical assistance, engineering assistance for the utility department is really needed. Some of the restructuring of our organization does not allow us to pull engineering assistance from engineers that we currently have on staff. They've been utilized in other areas. The utility department years ago actually had a contract with a engineering firm that allowed us by the drink or by task order to have work that the utility department needed to be provided. The reason why that Mr. DePue and I talked about it, and the reason why it's needed, that at this particular point, we're not letting any of these treatment systems go over to private companies. They're remaining with us, but we're going through the review cycle in order to make sure that they're in compliance with what we're looking for and they're giving us what we need. So it's quite an effort, and it's a Herculean effort, and right now it's taking up a lot of time with one person that we have, and we're somewhat falling behind. So that's kind of where we're going. I know it's a lot to kind of think about now, but none of this is, I guess, is new to you because you kind of heard us talk about it at one phase or another. But we're asking that we move forward with those requests to not to exceed $50,000 for each one of the items that I discussed.
Gentlemen, questions?
This is, once again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, but once again, this has been a project that's been on the books for a long time, and we have some development coming in that area, and I just don't think we need to delay this process anymore, and I'm 100% in moving forward with what administration is requesting with the $50,000, not to exceed $50,000 for each one, on each item.
Yeah, what's that total amount?
How many items you got there,
It's
Ken?
4 items.
4 items, so we
200.
total of 200 altogether. And budget-wise, we're gonna have to do some arrangement with
We'll
the
do
budget.
some arrangement, but, you know, utilities.
Once you get some better numbers, bring it back to us exactly what
Sure.
we're looking at.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sadler.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, Ken. We have sewer impact fees. So, I see by your smile, you probably know this is coming.
That's right.
The Rivington development ought to be generating significant
Yes.
revenues in that regard from sewer impact fees. In fact, I would like to know, you mentioned 1,000, maybe 1,200 home sites. That's a lot, but rumor mill has it might be as much as 5,000 to 10,000 before it's all over with. And so you could look at that one of two ways. You know, we need to be prepared for whatever it is. But then again, let's not fool ourselves. We're going after just a little bit here when the real intention is to do something different, which I don't know who to believe. But just let's start with that. Impact fees. Instead of having 200 grand come from the 4 items are somehow through our budget and so forth, it's not been appropriated that way right now. How do we justify this with the impact fee itself? In Rivington going to take care of itself by the fee, or is that fee appropriate? Is it enough?
I think that's a very good point. I mean, a couple of things that the Rivington developer is willing to do. First of all, they're willing to pay for the design of the actual line from the end point of where the CDBG has up to where they're going to input into it.
So from the subdivision to the plant?
From the subdivision to the plant. They've already said that they would pay for that, and they've agreed to do so. Point well taken, the fee.
Well, let's back up right there, Ken. So we got that, what, in writing on a plat map or something?
We will have it on the plat map. They haven't submitted those in the
When is
final
the
plat
final
at this
plat?
point.
That will be a note
It
on
would
the
be,
plat.
it would be on there, but what I'm gonna do, Councilman, is to have that in writing from the developer before we move forward.
Right.
In our design phase. But that was an agreement on 2 occasions. We met with them, and the developer agreed to do that.
Okay, question number 2. This is obviously, and maybe by necessity, has to be independent. As Councilman Joseph just said, we need to be doing something of our triple P partnership. So how does that fit in? Is this stepping on any toes with Ascension Environmental or our owner's rep group is going to be
The
advised?
initial design of what's Essential Environmental really was not even taken in this particular area. I mean, this was an area that was a long shot. They were not looking at it into the first 2 to 3 plants that they were building.
So not covered at all by
It
triple
was
P?
not covered. In fact, in the last meeting, we discussed that about whether or not, that particular area was covered. The other issue with that, Councilman Sadley, is we have to move forward with doing this for 2 reasons. One is, we want to try to secure the SRF funding by having a viable project that the parish has in place. Secondly, the length of time that it's taking to go through the probable, if the P3 moves forward, go through the actual negotiation phase, and then the design phase, and then construction. Rivington is going to be, up and possibly going at that particular point. So,
But doesn't the excuse me, interrupt, the triple P, the meetings I've all been to, that, the people that's going to put up money if and when they ever do, and we consummate any kind of a deal, it always says it'd be contingent upon us getting the SRF loan, State Revolving Fund loan, to go forward with that. If we've taken that money now and using it for a purpose that's not even in the triple P, how is that going to work?
well, we're not, first of all, it's not going to take all of the SRF funding to do this project. I mean, if we look
How
at.
much? I mean, the number was
I
70
think
million.
the estimation is probably about, 10 million.
Of the
that-
70.
Of the 70, the 60 is what it's going to
60,
take.
I'm
to,
sorry, I misspoke.
to actually do it. And that's kind of a high-level estimation, but that's kind of where we are with. And keep in mind that even if we're looking at that may be the total cost of the project, when we start pulling down the actual sewer fees and those kind of things, I mean, that's going to reduce that amount because we have other revenue coming in.
Has this been discussed with Ascension Environmental?
Ascension, and I would Ascension, yeah, you know
As
what,
far-
it was
as far as
discussed in our
bar-
earlier meeting.
As far as borrowing 10 million of the SRF and not nixing any deal?
No,
we're
that wasn't
making,
discussed, but the actual project on 22 was discussed with Ascension Environmental.
And the reason I ask, I've heard the outsiders say, you know, our deal's all contingent upon you getting that state funds at 0.95% over blank years.
Yeah. Well, I think that, but the concern is that if we don't do anything now, that maybe none of that SRF funding is going to be available. So I think it's prudent for us to move forward aggressively. And I think Councilman Johnson always said this, that normally if you're moving forward on a project, that's a possibility you can get additional funding, but I wouldn't want a chance losing it by not.
There's two things with the SRF money, and you know, a lot of people throw out there, we're going to lose it. We don't need, it'd be the worst thing if we ever lost it, which it would set us back to a certain extent, but it's not the end of the world because as it stands, it's a state revolving fund. There's monies that are always coming back into that system, and part of the reason they want us to do something with this is because of, like Ken alluded to earlier, as far as the money that they're able to get from the feds. So the other part of this is if we use any portion of that $60 million, it locks in the entire $60 million.
Right.
And we don't necessarily have to draw any more than what we absolutely need.
Right.
And by that, we don't have to pay back anything but what we borrow on. So by a smaller amount, in order to do a project like this, the numbers appear to be there in order to be able to pay that money back. And then with Riverton coming in, of course, that adds to that, makes it more of a financially viable system because between the CDBG money being put in for the rest of the project and this coming in and add it, the potential to expand it even further is something that potentially, for our standpoint right now, can be done more swifter than anything else that we're working on.
So,
But
so would we be, I hate to be a ward about this, but would we be asking the state of Louisiana for only 10 of the 60 million to do this?
Yes.
The others still out there and some sort of a verbal promise that we're still holding that for you guys in Ascension Parish?
that's the project. That's the system.
that's
They
the
basically
system.
told
It's
us
the
that.
norm.
I mean, you're not going to give us $60 million to do a 10 million project.
No, no,
It's like a construction fund for your house. It's basically you draw whatever you need out of it. This is what the guaranteed loan is, but you
Okay.
only draw out of it
Right.
what you want to use at that particular point in time. And then as you go through any more cost, whatever, you go back and ask for the rest of it or more increments, more draws on it, as
Okay.
long as you can pay it back.
And a fourth and final, or fifth, wherever I am, final question. Did I hear you say, Mr. Dawson, that because of the reorganization, what I captured in my notes, but you were talking fast, was that this has resulted in no or very little utility engineers for technical services, the reason why we need to, and if we just increase this contract as one of the four elements that you talked about, 50K per up to 200, for them to do that, can we legally do that without going back out on the RFP and QRX, Y, and Z and all that?
Yeah, it's my understanding even from our legal that because each one of those particular duties are separate, you know, from each other, that we can. Now, if I go over the 50, then we have to come back for an RFQ. So.
Because we're under a threshold that the council can just authorize.
Yes.
And is that the reason we divide it into four different tasks?
Well, no, the reason, because, for instance, the initial design of the actual piping was done by Evan Graves.
Right.
It's just feasible.
Well, there's a logical choice, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, you know.
I just say this, there's probably some expertise that the parish has utilized in doing a lot of this that we found to be prudent to move forward with. Evans Graves on the design of the piping because they've done it. That's the project that they've done. I would hate to lose that amount of knowledge by bringing another engineer in when they've already geared up to
And
do
you
it.
want us to believe that we don't have the expertise in-house to do this?
Well, we just don't. Right now, we don't. We don't have the personnel. The personnel, right, the personnel
How
that
did
they use in
how
other
did we
places.
get to this? I guess I'm trying to make it a difficult issue anymore with the situation
Yeah, well,
going right now.
resignation. We've lost an engineer. I mean, we lost an engineer. That was a major situation. I mean, we have, for instance, the engineer that at one time we were
I
utilizing.
mean, we might be able to pay a
that-
salary for $50,000, $60,000, have the guy for a whole year.
Well, I don't
not
know if
just
you're
in this
gonna be
project.
able to get, I
Well,
think
maybe
it'll
we
take
won't
a little
have-
more of that,
maybe,
Doc.
maybe we won't have a PE, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna take a little bit more than that right now.
All right. I'll just say this, I'm gonna go with this tonight, because it's just, correct me if I'm wrong, Chairman, a recommendation to the full body. But in this reorganization, let's do it quickly. I mean, I've got a scheduled meeting, as we've all had, with the consultant agency that we've now approved to go, and I did that reluctantly, because it is like the horse is out of the stable now, we're closing the barn, we are operating and organizing after we've done a whole lot of organizing. Actually, we're studying operating and organizing an organization after we've done it. So, but I can understand it still from the standpoint, in deference to my colleague Terry Cass, who asked me to support that last time. We don't want anything to get any worse on this kind of stuff, but I challenge you as the second in charge to work vigorously to get this and all the other issues fixed up.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We'll do so. One thing, can I show
So
you?
I'll go ahead and, with that, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to
second
clarify a
motion.
point with Dr. Satterley.
We got a motion and a second. Okay, Mr. Bill, go ahead.
The addressing the impact fees, we really don't have a sewer impact fee. We have a sewer development fee. And because of the definition of the two, we're working with the developers for them to fully understand the difference between a development fee and an impact fee. The development fee, as we understand it, and the way the ordinance is written, is for the internal things that are going to be dedicated to the parish, and they get credits for the material that they put in for that particular project. They'll get a credit against whatever their expenses are. It flows down to the builder, but that does not cover things that are outside the boundaries of the development. That development fee is for us taking over that system and maintaining it forever, and the customers, repairing it, maintaining it, replacing it. But as far as the transport from the development to the sewer treatment plant and the sewer treatment plant itself, it's not part of a development fee. That is a true impact fee, which we do not have for sewer.
Mr. Dawson?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Good,
Councilman Sally.
Let me do some dirty, quick math here. Okay, I want to talk about at 1,000, not even 1,200, $2.5 million, and whether we call it, sir, a impact fee or a development fee. This development, if that's the ceiling, we've talked about it might even be 5,000 or 10,000, is going to generate that amount of money.
Right.
So
But it'll
when you
generate
come to
that
us,
amount of
yes,
money
you know,
after adjustment for the credits that we're going to give
regardless,
the developer.
yeah, I understand. There's all kinds of mechanism differences and so forth, and encumbrances of this and that. Throw salt over your shoulder, spit in the wind, and pull a mask on the old Long Ranger. But that's $2.5 million involved in that minimum, maybe a whole lot more. I just want to be sure this council isn't recommending any way frivolous spending of monies that we don't really need that we could be getting otherwise, especially in the name. And here it is, guys. We were promised that the reorganization we have, that we learned tonight, is not maybe the best as it relates to utilities, leaving engineers notwithstanding, is going to save this parish $4 million. We're sure it will. If we continue to just take other money out of the budget and other spots and everything to do things like this, when I'm just questioning, do we need to do that with this impact fee / development fee, whatever you want to call it, $2.5 million sitting on the table? So I want to be sure that these developers that are developing this subdivision pay that money.
Oh, absolutely. They do.
If, a clarification though, and with that, we're saying that there's if all things were equal, coming in with the development, they would pay $2.5 million, but they're gonna get credit for equipment and stuff that they install. So that would be the most you would get, but after you start looking at what they're installing in, you're not getting 2.5, you're getting minus whatever
So
the
that's
minus
like we
whatever
talked
that
about
is.
from plant to
That'll
to
be one of the
subdivision.
credits that they
Right.
get.
Right.
So that-
Understand that.
and plus infrastructure inside the subdivision, they get credit for.
Right.
But we still need money to design it,
Absolutely.
what you're saying. And
Absolutely.
so,
We need
all
money
right.
to design
I
it.
gave, I gave you a second. We're okay.
Thank you, sir. Can I just say one thing real quick?
Sure.
Can you, John, can you put this on the screen? I just want to show you on the screen, yeah. You can't see these numbers, but it was Ben Laurie, who was the engineer probably 3-4 years ago, actually looked at this project. If you remember, this is a drawing I showed you before. And we basically looked at, now this was before Riverton. This was before the expansion of Pelican Point. if 90% of connections, if 90% of all the connections that were done for Darrow, 22, St. Elmo, Hillryville, Ashland, Pelican Point Crossing, and those things, we would generate $1.2 million annually in revenue. That's based on a $45 user fee. So I know we topped at $42.50, but that was just the estimate. So I just want to say that because this particular area had been looked at some 3 years ago as a feasible opportunity, and now with these other things, it's even more feasible.
Yeah, revenue neutrality is the goal, as a minimum for utilities to make enough and generate enough funds to build the system, expand the system. But again, when we're sizing that connecting line to the plants, that's got to be sized for a 1,000 lot development. And if you build out all the 1,000 lots, then you got the perfect world. If you don't,
And to tell you, we did size the line to take care of it. So we got a very big line that's going to take care of that flow.
Well, good luck with the railroads.
You're going to help me, Councilman Satterley.
All right, we got a motion and a second to move forward to the council. Ken, what I would request from you is that after tonight, we get this documentation together and get that to the rest of the council members. Give them plenty of time before the second meeting of the month. This is not going to go on the council agenda meeting for this Thursday, but that way that'll give them some opportunities to purview it and ask any questions in case they should have any prior to the meeting, so we can resolve any of those type of issues. Okay, thank you. Any objection? I hear none. That motion carries. Moving on to item number 8. Gentlemen, if you remember, about 2 months ago, I requested the ability to get a cost estimate and a time frame on a task order potentially from our owner's rep. And basically, it's not going to cost us a cent to do it, but we haven't been able to get the company to do it. And so what I'm asking for is permission from you guys, whether we need to go, and I'll double check this through the legal again, if we can do it as this committee, or whether we need to go through the whole council, but I think we can do it as a committee just to authorize the All South Engineering firm to give us a cost estimate and a time frame for gathering this information. Once we get that information, then we will, of course, bring it back to this body as whether or not we wanted to proceed with that or take parts of it in and out or what have you. But again, this is not spending any money. It's basically going out there and getting a price on something. And I would ask for a motion to authorize us to do so at this time and entertain any questions you might have about it.
Question.
Mr. Joseph.
So I'm just going to clarify. All they're going to do is just give us a price for all these items on here.
That's
it.
correct.
And then we're going to come bring it up at the.
That's correct.
All right, I just want to make sure, and hey, look, I'm all for that. I make a motion that we move forward with it from this utility committee.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I have a question.
Sure.
I had jotted down, where did the genius of this task order language come from? And I guess
That was me, yes, sir.
and I know you have many.
I don't know
no
if it's
offense.
genius, but
That may have been a poor choice of words, but we'll see in a minute, I guess. And I know you have given it out to us before and so forth, and I kind of wondered, I thought maybe it died a graceful death. I see it as not. I'd be a lot more comfortable whether this body's going to be the whole deal, or whether you kind of indicated before Oliver Joseph's motion and question that to come back to this body, and if legal agrees to that, or to the full council did it, and I'd be even more comfortable if we had more than 3 of the 5 committee members here to discuss this and look at it. And I don't know how far you'd want to even go with them not here to hear the comments I'd like to make, but I'd have comments about the drafting of a bill for the legislature for quick take, which I'm against. I've been on record for that before. Very quickly, I've talked to lots of engineers, 4 or 5 different firms, including our lead engineering firm on Ascension Environmental, GSA, Mr. Glenn Shaheen, who says you don't need quick take, Doc Sadly, for utilities. We built everything we needed in the city. Gonzalez won awards for the same, didn't have to have that. I question right now the tax issues. Are we saying by asking them to look into this that we're considering now proposals for sales and our ad valorem taxes at various percents and millages and so forth, when we clearly know that the people have no stomach whatsoever for taxes, as evidenced by Lanes for Change and Better Recreation Now, and even some fire taxes that didn't make it, and parcel fees and what have you. And are we, I don't know, man, are we playing engineer even as a committee by saying we want you to look at 4 scenarios of treatment systems, plus I think it says 2 others, and so forth and so on. Isn't this for the owner rep to have kind of be doing just directly anyway, all south with Ascension Environmental? The comment there about transportation, I think you explained that to me once before. It's not transportation per se, but it's got something to do with actually with utilities. Anyway, I'm not real comfortable making a second here tonight with a abbreviated body, and I'd rather see this come in front of the full council, quite frankly. That's just the way I feel about it. So I'm not going to be able to second that motion tonight.
Well, let me answer some of those questions you got. Basically, what this is a proposal to get information that we can put to the public to show them what the benefits or the negatives are towards any of these items. Well, I'm not saying to go out and push for quick take or expropriation or any of those things. What I'm basically asking is that get us the information that we can answer a question that says, if we do a system this way, this is what the costs are going to be. If we go to the legislature and we get the ability to do design build, for an example, how much potentially could that save us to do that same project by being able to do design build? And the reason to break it down into 4 different types of system is, okay, if we were to do this type of system, how much would it cost to build that system? And then with that cost and just outright cost, and then, okay, if we did the design build type, how much would that potentially save us? If we had a half-cent sales tax on the ballot, how much would that drop the end user cost to the customer on a monthly basis? And how each of those things affect this project. Again, it's not saying this is what we're going to do. It is something to gather information to put together so we can go out and try to figure out, and it may not go anywhere. Again, this is just to get a cost estimate on doing this type of thing. And if the P3 goes through, then none of this is going to happen. But if the P3 doesn't go through, it doesn't drop us back to stage 0. It gives us a point of being able to pick this up from where we kind of got off track after we got off on the P16 or the modified P16 area and started looking at a lot of construction as opposed to finding out the rest of the answers is what we started doing 4 years ago. Once the offer of the SRF money came out, we got away from actually finding out the rest of the answers to things like this and started looking at how can we make the sewer system happen. And so that was the thought process behind it. Again, this was not to say we're going after any of this. It was basically to give us a baseline of information that we can have a discussion with, not only amongst ourselves, but with the public, to show them how this system would actually go through and either be more beneficial to them or less beneficial with each of these pieces and parts of it. Councilman Joseph, I saw you had a question.
Yeah. This have came up before. I think we did similar to it maybe about 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And once again, it was a great tool to see which direction we want to go. Our numbers didn't look good at those times, and the public wasn't ready for it. Once again, I think it's a good information tool. That's the reason I'm looking at it. So the new councilman and all of them will have a better overview on our tax base of what it can do. That don't mean you're going to vote it or we can get it passed, but actually know all our options as a current up-to-date status. So, I mean, that's what I'm supporting this here for. Information to get me up to speed on where we at collecting money or to make sure we can move forward with the information. Not go to one piece and wait another 7 months, 8 months, or 2 years. We're being proactive again to at least bring everybody up to speed with information. So whatever happened with P3, P3, at least we can move quickly or don't move quickly. But information-wise, we're all up to speed and know our options. So.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Yeah, two things. Not to be picking, but when you're saying we're not pushing, just as one example, quick take, and thank you for addressing that, taxes and other things that I mentioned in my first turn. But, I look at the language here in this task order, and it says draft a bill explicitly. That's an action verb. To present to the legislature for quick take for the program, the bill should be drafted with all protections spelled out to protect the public interest. Again, that sounds fine, but, it's something that I don't support. So I don't know what the intention is relative to pushing or not, but that seems pretty explicit that we would be telling this All South company that we have now hired as an owner rep to work with the administration, to work with Ascension Environmental again. This is one of the many tasks that we asking you to do. And to me, I'm not sure we want to waste money, and when I say that in quotes, on things that may not happen anyway. Mr. Dawson, let me just ask you a question. This might help. And I hesitate to use the word a second time, the word genius. The administration genius was trusted by this council, the full council, not just an abbreviated membership of this subcommittee body, correct me if I'm wrong, to guide the development of a task order for All South. That's something we've already approved. And so to me, it just seems like we're coming behind y'all and meddling with something we've already told you to go out and do. Do we have the expertise and the genius in our administration right now to develop a task order independently of Councilman Benny Johnson's genius, which might be the best genius out there? But I mean, that's what we told you guys to do. Is that not being done? Have y'all met? Has anything been moved along? Has there a single sentence been agreed upon between the, how you want to call it, the Ascension Environmental Group and our, as it's called, Owners Rep All South at this point? I mean, y'all meeting? What's happening?
Yes, Councilman Sally, we are meeting. In fact, we had a meeting just yesterday. We had a meeting just yesterday with the owners rep, which comprised the engineering side, the financial side, and our legal side of the owners rep team. So they're moving forward with the negotiations and determining the necessary information so that a decision can be made, whether or not financially, legally, technically, this is the direction that we need to go with. I think that the development of this task order that Chairman Johnson developed was in an effort to provide additional information that would help in making a varied decision, because the numbers change, as was mentioned. Something like this was done a long time ago. The numbers changed, and secondly, you have different members of the council that were not privy to the information that a lot of us had who've kind of been through this process for an extensive period of time. So I think that's kind of the overall gist behind it. But yes, we are moving forward with the team and with Ascension Environmental, along with our owners rep team, and moving forward as this body directed, or the council directed us to do.
Can you just give me one thing that has been agreed upon between Ascension Environmental and the owners rep group that the administration sanctions as well in these meetings?
Well, I can't say at this point there's any one particular thing that's been agreed of, other than information that we just tasked him to go back and get and come back in a period of time. There's been an agreement to say that there will be and I have to be very careful because a lot of this is confidential.
I understand.
In their negotiation, but let me just say that there is a process that was agreed to on yesterday to move forward with getting information on how, we can move forward with an agreement, and to also provide, the members that were present at that meeting, along with the council, some numbers that will allow you to make a decision that will make you more comfortable in having those numbers. So I'm trying to say that without getting in trouble.
There's been some changes in the numbers, and that's what we're.
Has Ascension Environmental is not in the room tonight either, or any representative of that group, nor All South. It's a very abbreviated group of people here, like we had for strategic planning. So I'd be more comfortable to hear. Just as one example, are they aware that this potential task order directive may be forthcoming?
Is Ascension Environmental?
Either one or both. Actually, both.
say Ascension Environmental and all, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they haven't been given a task order yet.
All South is aware of it, and Central
Mm-hmm.
Environmental is not.
And so
Right.
you're telling me All South is cool with it,
Yeah.
but Ascension Environmental doesn't know anything about it. They don't need to.
They don't need to. I don't think that they
Right,
really
it's what
need
we
to.
want to tell them to do. I know you're going to say that.
Right.
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 And the administration, you're telling me, is cool with it.
That's part of the reason we're here tonight.
I know it's awkward because Mr. Johnson is the genius, so, but you can't speak freely to me. I need that.
Yeah. Well, I think that what we're, Chairman Johnson developed this as chairman of utility committee that he felt to get more information to the utility committee and then to the council. And he's given a directive, if this is voted on tonight, for the administration to carry that out. And we're going to proceed in any direction.
So you're throwing me against Benny, is that what you're doing?
Yes, I think it'll be a good contest.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Ken. Mr. Chairman, I have no further questions, and with the utmost respect for your chairmanship and expertise, and obviously I understand you, like all of us, are trying to move the ball forward, but under all the different circumstances I've discussed tonight, I'm just not comfortable giving you guys what you want. That said, we can bring this back and talk about it again with the full body here, or I'd like to see the full council involved in this period.
The full council's been given this, and
Yeah, well,
it's one of the things
we
about
haven't
it is,
discussed it.
well, I agree with
public.
that. The thing with it, and I guess my question is that all we're looking for, and we're not deciding anything on it, all we're looking for is for them to come back with a cost estimate of what it would take for them to do this. And if at that particular time we wanted to remove something out of this, I'm not saying that we're gonna do any of this. I'm basically saying, what would it cost you to give us this information? And then after that, we would bring that back. And if a majority of this body or the council wanted to remove anything out of it, we can remove it out of it.
Yeah.
I'm not against that. I'm
And then
just
when you
saying-
remove things out of it, the cost changes, so, I mean, I think.
Well, but
we
if
sort of
you-
agree on the task order first.
If you go
and then-
down in the amount of information you're requesting or what you're requiring them to do, the price is gonna be cheaper. It's not gonna be more. So, I mean, as far as that is concerned, it's not that we're, you're not gonna drive the price up. We're not adding anything to it. Now, of course, if it would add something to it, then we would have to go back for that. But, and I don't have a problem with that. I'm just trying to get the ball moving so we can get some kind of an estimate, if you will, of what it would take to do this.
I understand, and I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman, and your tolerance to let me have second and third time, but I can't support that tonight.
All righty. And what we'll do, I'm sorry? Yeah, well, I mean, I can step away from the chair and make a second, but I'm not gonna do that tonight. But, Mr. Joseph, go ahead.
Okay, can we just put this on next?
Yeah, I have another discussion with the parish president, and, we'll go from there, and then we'll have this on the next agenda unless otherwise, stated. Ms. Kimlin, please.
Gonna not move on?
We're not gonna move on it because we didn't get, the motion dies for lack of a second, so we're not gonna move on that.
Okay.
But what I'm asking for you to do is to, put it on the next agenda, and, if we don't have any movement on it between now and then, we'll take it up at the next month's meeting, or next meeting,
Next Utilities Committee.
next Utilities Committee, that's correct. Council Chairman Kluwat, you like to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the board here. We appreciate your work and your hard work, and keep on digging in and digging in. This is a long process. We've been involved in it for several years, and I think we got a decent amount of road in front of us. Thank you, Ken, you guys, for looking at everything. We do know that we're gonna end up one day where we're gonna have to know some of these facts that we got in front of us. And we got one path that we're trying to work our way toward the end on right now. And once again, I appreciate all your input and working toward the end. Try to do something. Every time I get a chance to get by the microphone, I just want to let everybody know, let's don't lose focus of the mission. The mission is to get the sewer out of the ditch, get it to the river, and let's clean up the streams. Doc, your area is probably the most affected out of any of the council members that's sitting right now up here on this committee. And so we're going to come to a consensus at some point and keep moving forward. But once again, I don't want to take up any more of your time. You've been here for a while, but appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Yeah,
Thank you, Randy.
and that's exactly right. I mean, we're going to continue to work this effort, and we'll have some more discussions and get some better clarification on things, and come up with some way to hopefully resolve this issue long term, for sure. Whether it's through the P3 or some other method, it's this committee's goal, and like to echo that sentiment Randy brought out, and thanking these guys and the commissioners not here for their hard work and going through this. These two gentlemen and Councilman Turner, who's not here, has put a lot of hard work into this effort. And we have our discussions, we have our disagreements on things, but we continue to push forward to try to make the best decision for the people we represent and the parish as a whole. And I'm grateful for the hard work of Mr. Dawson and the rest of the administration on this effort, as well as the members of this committee and the entire council, because it's going to take a team effort to resolve this issue. And so with that, we'll move on to agenda item number 9.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to,
questions.
1 second, hold on,
question.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I just want to say that we are planning another trip to the Lake Charles plant because there's several councilmen who had a desire to see it and have not had a chance to see it. So we're going, and I don't know, some of you may want to revisit it because you loved it so much and take another trip. But we're going to plan another one pretty soon. So.
Can we get our video team down there to
Absolutely.
film, if they allowed us to film that plant and do a short video to the public?
I thought we brought them to that, one of the
It
first
seemed like
times we
it-
went, but I
It
don't.
seemed like that might, Councilman,
to-
I think we may, I'll check. It seemed like I remember them coming along at one point.
But
I'll
we can
check.
show the public
Yes, we
what
can
we're
show the public
talking
what
about
we're-
in the technology.
Yes, sir.
You know,
We can do that.
so.
Committee chair,
Yes, ma'am.
the meeting that you want to take place between administration and the full council again for the P3, are we setting that, or what? Am I responsible to set that? How do you want to handle it?
The meeting between the,
You said you wanted to talk to the council before
no,
we come
I'm
to-
gonna, that'll be, you talking about the information that we got for the, item number 7, the approval of technical stuff?
No, number 8, the task
Okay.
order for the P3.
No, I'll have a discussion with the parish president. He can authorize that,
Wanna make sure?
that task order and so forth, so if,
Okay.
is what I was talking about, Ms. Kelly.
Got it.
And if we need to, we'll bring it up before this body, and if this body wishes it to go to the full council after the next meeting, then we'll do it after that. But just hold it on the agenda for the next Utilities Committee meeting. Okay, anything else, gentlemen and madam? All right, with that, we've got a motion by Councilman Joseph to adjourn. Second by Councilman Sadler. We are adjourned. Thank y'all.